Success is what happens when 10,000 hours of preparation meet with one moment of opportunity.
The only photographer you should compare yourself to is the one you used to be.
Hey, welcome to the Street Shots Photography Podcast. This is Antonio.
And this is Ward.
And this is episode 187 for the middle of July 2023. And here we are today.
The dog days of summer.
The dog days of summer, yes. We're and as full disclosure goes, we're recording this a little bit early in the month just because of our scheduling. So
yep.
But it still is the dog days of summer. I'm sitting here sweating. I can't have air conditioning in this room while I'm recording because you would hear it, number one.
And we're recording a bit late in the day than we normally record because we had quite a violent thunderstorm blow through here. Hail, pea-sized hail, and torrential rain. It was quite the fireworks display.
Oh, maybe it will put a damper on all those fires you have.
Well, the fires are further north. I don't think well, it settled down here. Now it's mostly in the east, as you know.
Yeah.
The fire danger's gone down quite a bit, I believe, in Alberta. British Columbia, further west, is having their grief right now, too. So,
yeah,
not one thing, it's another. Yeah,
we had a second day of that a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago, or something like that, where the air quality got bad again. Not as bad as that evil Wednesday when things looked like Los Angeles from Blade Runner. Yeah. But actually, it was recording a couple days after July 4th. And so during July 4th and the fireworks, we had a lot of local fireworks going off, and there was so much of it, and there was no air moving, that it was a total like cloud of fireworks smoke everywhere, and you couldn't see the fireworks. And we were up on our roof. Shh, don't tell anybody. Yeah. Wait a minute, what did I just do? I was photographing out there, and I was like, don't worry, I'll just use dehaze in Photoshop or Lightroom to get rid of the things. But yeah, it was I think the smoke got as bad on July 4th as well. But it's just
all the kids in your neighborhood still have fingers.
Good question. Yeah. It wasn't so bad. Our neighborhood can get really bad with them, which makes great photography. It's fine. But we know that we have this road right next to us called Ocean Parkway, and they're getting out in the middle of the road and setting up the fireworks, like in the suicide lane or whatever we call that lane. Yeah. in the middle. They're setting up, mortars and firing off, things, and it makes for nice photographs. I've got some nice pictures of these fireworks right in the middle of Ocean Parkway.
Their lives.
Yeah, but one day, and then finally a cop actually drove by. This is the first time I've seen a cop come by and actually stop there, and they stopped doing it. But it wasn't as bad this year as it was bad. I don't mean, well, it depends on how you think about fireworks, but there were previous years where they were going on like all night long, and there were like hundreds of them. And like one was right next to our building going off at my window level, and explosions and making my cats crazy and making me crazy too a little bit. But it wasn't that bad. And so I got some good photographs from it. I mean, I like photographing fireworks because, it's like a one-off kind of thing. It's like a test of your photography skill. I mean, like your skill of your camera. I actually will praise, the Fuji camera that I was using, the XH2, because it was very, very easy to take pictures with it. Setting up in manual and then using tapping the screen to trigger it. I was which meant that I didn't really jostle the camera too much. Because I was setting it up on.
You didn't have to jab. It was just a nice.
It's a very slight touch on it, and I eventually I turned off the self timer because it would do self timer.
Okay, yeah. Like a 2 second
actually, on that camera, self timer is interesting because if you have self timer set up with continuous drive mode, it will take 3 or 4 shots when you hit the self timer, which actually is with fireworks is great because, doing these long exposures and a firework goes off, you can get, a 2 second, you can get like a whole sequence of fireworks.
Right.
But I realized I'm just going to eat up, at 40 megapixel shots, it's going to eat up stuff. But so I reversed and I went back to just single shots just by tapping the screen. And I was looking at the shots and there was no camera movement. So
cool.
Thumbs up for that kind of thing.
Nice.
So I got a lot of praise from him. I'm like, part of me would say fireworks is I'm going to say the easiest thing to do, but it's like, it's not rocket science. It's just, once you know how to, 3 seconds or 6 seconds, F8 or something like that, and you just set it at infinity, it's right. The easiest thing. It's the hardest thing is figuring out where the fireworks are going to go off,
Right. So you're talking about the feedback you're getting. So you posted on social media.
Yeah,
your local Brooklyn bulletin board.
Yeah, and I'm not really busting chops about it too much. It's just, I'm being a snob.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm being a little snobby here about that. But a friend of mine said, this is what happens when you have a professional photographer who knows what they're doing and has good equipment. And, I guess I want to take that in. I mean, I was like, yes, it's a lot of knowledge in doing that. And the cameras are making it easier to do
than ever before.
Yeah. I'm sure even some modern cameras have fireworks modes. I don't know. I haven't looked at them, but you have a fireworks mode now. You can just set it up and then we'll do it and just point it where the fireworks are going to go off. So one thing I wanted
those. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say though, as sort of a lesson, I think what was interesting is that when I photograph fireworks, I make sure that I try to keep buildings or things in there for scale.
Right.
I think that becomes a more interesting image than just the firework itself. I mean, I'll do shots of just the firework, right, which is kind of fun,
pattern.
But there's nothing interesting about that. But when you have I think I have some nice shots of some water towers, and people were firing fireworks off behind it, and so the silhouette of the water tower and the fireworks, and you get the sense of scale, and I think that becomes a more interesting picture. Pro tip for anybody who doesn't know that, try to put something in there. But anyway, sorry, what were we going to say?
No, there was two things. One was I remember a few years ago, kind of the lower end Nikon SLRs. They had a mode, like a tutorial mode, where you pick fireworks, and then there's a little script that's on the back that tells you what to do to shoot your fireworks. That's very cute. I really like that. That's one way to learn photography out in the field, I think. And the other thing is, we have a fireworks competition here every year called Global Fest, and it's around a lake. So photographers love to set up there and have these, and they represent, the competitors represent individual countries.
Really?
So they'll have these beautiful symmetrical fireworks, and then you get the reflection of the lake. They're amazing.
Oh, wow.
Some of those images. So, yeah, there's quite a cadre of fireworks photographers in this town. I tell you what, yeah, it's very cool.
that is a cool thing. And I think there's probably people who do this and can make fireworks look really, really good and interesting. Probably more so than I can. I'm just pointing at whatever. But while we were upstairs watching the fireworks, I could see someone was flying a drone in the middle of this stuff, which you're not supposed to fly a drone in the city.
No, but I have seen videos of them flying through like
the fireworks.
Bursts.
Yeah. And as a still picture, it probably wouldn't be so interesting because you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that it's from a drone. But when you see the video of a drone flying through fireworks and hopefully not getting blown up by one or something, but that's a very interesting use of it.
That's your B-roll drone.
Yeah. Wow, it would be such I remember when drones first came out and someone flew them through fireworks, everybody was like, "Whoa, that's great!"
I think that's what I'm remembering is that like
that first time
it came on TV, and I'm like, oh, now there's a different potential. Now I'm like, people are gonna be going bananas doing this from now on.
Yeah. So anyway, we're putting this show together on short notice. So I didn't really have a lot of time to figure things out.
So we'll just wing it.
I'm winging it. It's fine. Well, a couple of things. First of all, anybody who's listening to the show, if you want us to talk about a photographer, could you please call us on our what is our line called? What it was called? Oh my God, I
something
forgot it
pipe,
already.
speak pipe. No,
Speak pipe, yes. And I realized last time when I was giving our closeout on it, I gave the wrong address. So, but I'll put it up at the end of the show so that you guys will have to listen to the end of the show so you know it. But I would like, if there's a photographer that you would like us to talk about, I kind of want you guys to like sort of chime in and say, like, Ward and I here are trying to figure out who we should, there are photographers I want to talk to. So I have interviews, and that it's always a little harder to do that. But both of us have like a wealth of knowledge and books and stuff like that. And so, or if there's a photographer that like we don't know and want us to explore, please leave us, drop us a line and let us know who you'd like us to talk about on the show. Cause I want to find new photographers, and I'm hoping that you guys in the audience would say, oh, well, talk about so-and-so. I'm like, oh, I've never heard of him. I love that
compare
sense
and
of
contrast.
discovery.
Yeah, as much as you like to talk about photography, you like to talk about photographers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do they do what they do, and how what they do is so different from other photographers we appreciate in ourselves? Like, what's their motivation?
Exactly.
Everyone's so different in the creative arts, man.
Yeah.
We all have different motivations. It's interesting.
So there's all those ears out there and people who are aware of photographers that we may not know about. So please send them our way. I just wanted to put that in right now because what I did was I pulled out a bunch of books that I've purchased more recently or that were given to me, and I thought we just sort of like go over them a little bit. I know you don't have them in front of you, Ward, so I don't know what you may not be able to say anything about it, but my neighbor just gave me a little book on Bresson. It was like a little, what is it from? It looks like, what did you call them before when I was showing it to you?
Oh, the Master Series from Aperture.
Yeah, it's like a little Master Series book. It's a handheld book.
You hate it when they're not handheld. From the olden days.
Right. Yeah. No,
those giant ones that came on the truck, they were the worst.
Read with my feet. Yeah. It's a little book on Bresson, and it's got lots of text. I don't know if it's a biography. It's just talking about a lot of his stuff. And he found it in one of those little loaner libraries that we have scattered through the neighborhood, the little leave a book, take a book kind of thing, the little libraries. So I don't think I'm going to give this one back. I'm sorry, Lending Library. I'll have to find another book. But it got me thinking about all the other stuff that I've gotten recently, and I wanted to sort of share that with you. Well, we got this one book. We're going to try to talk to this photographer. We haven't set it up yet. What is this? You can focus on it here.
Giloy Concepcion.
Yeah, Giloy Concepcion, a book, The Things You Wanted to Say But Never Did. It was a photographic journal. I think we talked about this already a little bit. A book to process your feelings. And I haven't read through it yet. There's a lot of prompts in it. But, it's got all the pages that are open there for you to write stuff into. It's not necessarily for you to put photographs in. There's already his photographs are in there. And you got a copy of this too, right?
Yeah, I did. I do. It's
you have a copy of this.
Yeah, beside my my living room chair. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to get, I hope we can get him on, because I would like to talk about the motivation behind the pictures, because the book is not just about, it's a photography book, but it's a journal,
It's also quite what I've looked or seen in it. It's very heartfelt and earnest, exploration of your feelings and your creativity. There's not really anything like it out there, I don't think.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting about it, like the cover is a photograph of a person, but the person is cut out. So it's a white silhouette of somebody. And so that pops up a lot in the book, where there's some pictures of people and they're cut out, so they're not identifiable. And then there's a prompt or something written in the space where they occupied. But I thought I had lost this, and I ripped up my apartment.
That was a weird afternoon. That
was a very strange afternoon, because I thought I put it someplace. I actually brought it with me to read, and then took it out of my bag and I thought I just put it on my coffee table or something like that. And I looked and I couldn't find it. And then I started going over and I ripped the apartment apart and I could not find it. And then I thought wrongly that I had left it in one of my classes and that a student might have picked it up. I hand books out for them to look at, and sometimes I'm not paying attention, for them to hand them back, and thought maybe it just went with a student or something like that. Wrong, right? It's I ended up saying, well, maybe I should just check my bookshelf. And I was like, why would I put my book on the bookshelf? And guess what? It was sitting right there. So I'm glad, because I would have.
What's that saying? Don't ascribe malice to something that can be explained by ineptitude or whatever. Stupidity. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So we have the author's email address, and reach out to them, and would like to talk to them about this book. It'd be really interesting discussion, because I think it's it's
just out, right? It just came out.
Yeah. I think it just came out in June. So we had gotten advanced copies of it, and but we just haven't been able to contact the author yet. But I'll be more diligent on that. He's someone I want to get. I also bought. Where is this one? This is an interesting one. I got this. I got this one called Photo No-Nos. Right. I got this at the APAD show. Remember when I went to the APAD show? This was from Aperture. I ended up subscribing to the Aperture magazine, because they were there and they were having a little bit of a discount, and they had a bunch of books there, which was really hard to pick out just a couple of. I mean, I couldn't walk out of there, without buying some books. Yeah, so I had to pick out a couple of things, and I thought this one was interesting. Photo No-Nos: Meditations on What Not to Photograph. And it's got a lot of different photographers, people who I don't know. This is another one where I might be learning some new people here, but photographers often have unwritten lists of subjects they tell themselves not to photograph, things that are cliché, exploitive, derivative, sometimes even arbitrary. At turns humorous and absurd, heartfelt and searching, this volume features ideas, stories, and anecdotes from photographers and photography professionals around the world. And so it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing in a way, because there's it's done in a dictionary form. So that's the first thing. The first 6 things are abandoned buildings, abandoned farms, abandoned houses, abandoned shopping carts, abandoned umbrellas, above ground pools, absent fathers, absolute certainty. And then the photographer writes, there's actually quite a thing. Absolute nothingness, abstraction, accidents, ace in the hole, actors, ad nauseum, advertising. Anyway, the list goes on.
Yeah,
I haven't read this yet.
Alphabetic.
Yeah. Obsessive reframing of the picture, the obvious, oil stains on concrete, old bathrooms, old cigarette butts, old couch. So I think what they did was they surveyed a bunch of a lot of photographers, and they ended up having them write some essays on the things that they, would want to not take pictures of. Of course, they're talking about pictures of things that they've taken. So it's not like a list of don't do this. And I don't think it's to be taken literally, because if I looked at all this stuff, I'm like, yeah, no, I've taken pictures of those things,
Right. Well, it's cool because it kind of wakes you up a little bit, because I think about that all the time. Oh, this a homeless person, an unhoused person. I'm not going to exploit them by taking a picture of their plight. I'll move on from that. And that happens all the time. Oh, I already have a picture of this building. Oh, I already have. I'm gonna beg off this particular subject matter. It's not what I'm out here to shoot today. So
yeah, well,
it's good. It puts you in that zone and gets you to lighten up a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Do you have any no-nos that you like? Are sort of.
Yeah, they're just because I've worn them out.
Abstractions
of where buildings come together, or as I said, that the homeless people, or that sort of thing. I don't shoot on transit. I don't shoot on private property. Those are more illegal, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, fences. My son likes to take pictures of garbage and stuff, on the street. Sort of a comment. I won't do that. because it's already covered, frankly.
Yeah, that's good.
He's already got it, and he's got some of my DNA, so I know someone's looking after that subject. So
yeah,
I don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to walk around. I suppose we could have a running conversation when we're going on a walk about decisions I'm making not to do something or not to photograph something.
Yeah.
It's good because it narrows your, constraints are always good. It helps foster creativity. As long as you're not obsessed.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I hear that, and I can think that you could take it too seriously. And, I often tell students, though, like I say, you're better off if you have any kind of doubt, I say, take the picture.
Take the picture.
I mean, you can always throw it out later, or you can always ignore it, or, whatever. But you can't come back to it. It's like, if you walk down the street and you're looking at something and say, oh, that might make a good picture, and you keep walking. It's like, if you have that thought in your head, take the picture. Yeah. Just take a few pictures or whatever. It's not going to cost you anything. You're not going to probably not going to go to jail. So, but, I'd rather not miss something. But, I think in photo no-nos for me, I haven't really thought about the things that I'm definitely not I've said I don't photograph unhoused people, although I've done it a couple of times when the picture I thought made some kind of statement, and so there's always the rules, quote unquote, can be bent or so maybe photo maybes, right? Or, photos, no, but sometimes depending, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, this is one of these books. I don't know if I sit there and read the whole thing through. It'd probably just drive me crazy, but maybe pick up and read the A's once and see how see what the photographers talk about. Big hugs, big wigs, billboards, bingo parlors, birds. they're
Now, by birds, they don't mean art pictures of eagles, taking the fish out of the ocean. This is there's a sparrow on the fence, and it's 80 feet away, and you've got your 35 on, and it's I've been taking pictures of sparrows at the coffee shop because they've been coming over to me. Now they know they're going to get food from me, and so I try to set up my camera. On the East Coast, man, the sparrows are so aggressive. When you're in Disney, in Disney World, I remember they're on top of your feet waiting for crumbs to fall off you while you're having your corn dog or whatever. What do we got? We have a murder of crows, right? Flock of pigeons. Yeah. When I saw a group of sparrows together, I had to call them a gang. One time I saw them going after a cicada, and I was coming home. And I heard this weird screaming. I could not figure out what the sound was. Yeah. And I saw a sparrow going after a cicada. The cicada was screaming or doing some kind of sound that was out of this world. Wow. And the sparrows were after it, and they just murdered that thing. Wow. And it didn't go quietly. And I was like, you know what? Sparrows are a gang, Yeah. So I like that.
Yeah. A gang of sparrows. But yes, I photograph them at the coffee shop because they come now and they land on the table expecting some bit of my blueberry scone. So of course I give it to them because I'm an old guy who feeds the birds now. Yeah. But I get some nice shots because I'll set up the remote on my Fuji and I'll photograph them so that I'm not close to the camera. I don't reach over the camera. They'll get close to the camera and then I'll just do a remote shot. So anyhow, during that same APAD trip, and I picked up a book by Alex and Rebecca Webb. It's called On Street Photography and the Poetic Image.
Now, is this a neighborhood book for you?
What do you mean neighborhood book?
Well, I know that you almost crossed paths at the mermaid. What's it called? The Mermaid Parade?
Mermaid Parade, yeah. Yeah. No, he used to live in Brooklyn.
He took pictures of some of the same locales you have.
Yeah. Or maybe, and vice versa. I've taken pictures. No, this looks like a book. Again, it's one of these one topic per page kind of things.
Oh, okay.
Why is my camera not focusing?
Oh, there's that picture. Yeah, I know that.
Oh,
one.
Right. This picture.
About that one.
This weird.
We talked about that one.
We talked about this one on Yes, it's sorry. We're talking about a picture, you guys, and you're not seeing it. When we were talking about Alex Webb, there was a photograph of. How do we say this? How do we describe it? I don't want to get too much into it. Two boys playing, but it's a very, very odd perspective. Looks like the child on the left is like coming through a hole in the wall, and the kid on the right is like glued to the wall. It's like it just takes your eye
forced
all over this place.
perspective trick. Yeah,
it is a forced perspective trick. Yeah. Anyway, this has got like one topic per page. Let's see, like lost and loss, and it's either written by Alex or Rebecca. Serendipity, mistakes as road maps. That's an interesting picture too in this with this horse on the ground. I'm showing it to you like you're going to see it. I'm sorry, you guys listening to me. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? This I haven't started reading yet, but it was one of the books I had to walk out with. It's a part of a series of books from Aperture Foundation. In this series, Aperture Foundation works with the world's top photographers to distill their creative approaches, teachings, and insights in photography. In this book, internationally acclaimed color photographer Alex Webb and Rebecca Norris Webb offer their expert insight into street photography and the poetic image. Through words and photographs, their own and others, they invite the reader into the heart of their artistic process. Yeah. So I got that. This is on my list of things to read. Actually, one thing I do want to mention too was a book I just finished, which I thought was really, really good. I want to recommend it. Hang on a second. I get the title here. Think Like a Street Photographer. Matt Stuart.
Oh, I don't know that book.
No, I found it. Where did I find it? How did I find it? I have no idea how I found it, but I got a Kindle version of it. I didn't buy the book. It's a relatively new book. Matt Stuart talking about street photography process. And it's very, very insightful. And if you know Matt Stewart's work, it's kind of this, I don't know how you describe it. How would you describe it? It's like crazy. He captures the most crazy street subjects, serendipitous, weird combinations of things. I mean, just to the audience, just go to Matt. If you don't know Matt Stuart, just go to either Magnum's website or go to his website, and you just look at his photographs, and you're just kind of like, how did he get that? This book, he writes about how he got those shots, and it's sort of like showing the magic behind the curtain. There's not really magic behind there. It's a guy who works really hard with his camera and is very observant in the world. It's a quick read. Like his titles are, let me go through some of the chapters here. Strange but true. You wouldn't believe it. Be a fortune teller. See the future before it happens. To speak or not to speak, knowing when to engage your subject. 10 points for a pipe. Looking for certain objects and gestures. Ha ha bonk. Jokes and juxtapositions. And it goes on like that. And it's a short book. It's about 125 pages. I went through it pretty quickly. But it was one of these really interesting, get into the mind of I really like his work and get into the mind of someone like Matt Stuart and hear what's going on in the process. And, after I read it, I thought, oh, well, maybe I can capture pictures like him at some point.
That'd be cool.
You know his work, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I haven't seen as much of it as you have, though. I've just seen, what comes up on the Instagram stream from Magnum. Every now and then he comes into rotation, but no, I've seen some of his juxtapositions, and he times things really well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's I use his pictures as an example in my street photography class. He's one of the photographers that I show them and say inspirational. But I always tell the students, like, you see his work and you're going to start to think that how is he getting this stuff? Is it luck or something like that? And I said, it's never luck, right? It's, you're making your own things. You're just in the right place at the right time. But I always point out one picture. This is a really funny picture he's got of a bunch of people on a busy commercial street in London, and they're looking towards him, and they're also looking towards the sun. And there's an older guy, and he's got his hand up to block the sun. and there's something very strange going on with his nose. And I always say,
Okay.
do you know that picture?
No.
No, but so his nose looks like it's a very strange looking nose. It looks, people say it looks like a pickle. I'm like, what's going on with his nose? And I won't give it away. I try to have the students figure out what's going on in this picture. And then I say, look at it further. There's other things in the picture because there's all these little faces of people. And that photograph resembles, or the location resembles, a place that's not too far away from where the classroom is. It's called Fulton Street, which is also a very, on its busy days, is a very big shopping street, just like that. In fact, it looks pretty much like this Matt Stuart picture. And my goal is to sort of show pay attention, really like look at what's going on and try to look beyond just the obvious and stuff like that. So I would recommend this Matt Stuart book for sure. And maybe last but not least, because I was looking at the time, I was did I get this? I bought a book. My first book on Helen Levitt called 1, 2, 3 More. And it was, these were a lot of the pictures that she had on a show, in a solo show at the Museum of Modern Art in 1943. And so
she's 30s and 40s street photography and some architectural shot from the street, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So she was born in Brooklyn in 1913. I was reading like the circles of people that she knew. And back then everybody knew each other.
Yeah. The industry was small.
Did you know she went to Mexico because of pictures that Bresson took?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
No, I knew that. There was it was just one of those documentaries it was on. It was talking about photographers and how they sort of knew each other and they went on trips. And Tina Modotti and that whole kind of Mexican grouping. There was there's quite a little bit of history there.
Yeah, I don't know all those combination things. It's really kind of fun to discover, like, oh, this photographer knew that photographer, but also it's not hard to imagine because the photography world was really small-ish back then, right? And so, and a lot of them circulated around New York, right? New York was a central point. But anyway, that was fun to learn. Anyway, this book is pictures of just different parts of New York City. She did, well, the show is in 1943. Yeah, Levitt's first major museum exhibition was at the Museum of Modern Art in 1943. Wow, like in the middle of the war. Mm. It was interesting that people would be going to a museum in the middle of the war. Anyway, it's written by Jeff Dyer, Dyer.
He's a critic, and
yeah. I haven't read the intro yet. The intro, it's not there's like one essay in it, but the whole book is just her pictures, nicely printed, nicely sized. This is a small book, but if you want to see, go back and see some really interesting pictures of New York City and Brooklyn in the 40s, in the maybe late 30s as well. I would pick this book up. It was my first book. I'd like to do we haven't done a show about her. Some point I would like to do a show
on Helen Levitt. She's got humor in her work too. That's just great.
Yeah. And the one little story that I know, it wasn't she was also Walker Evans' beard when he was riding the subway doing his subway shots. But I think that she would just be with him so that he didn't look like some weirdo walking around with a trench coat on and something like that. And he's got a picture of her as well on the subway. See if I can find that one. It's a shot. She's got a very distinctive look where she's got this hat on and stuff like that. And I was like, it was one of those secret pictures of Walker Evans. But anyway, so that's my talk today. I actually have a few more, but I've been talking too much. Going from book to book,
yes,
as a nice segue.
Yes.
Let's talk about your book and then what you're going to be doing. But I want to hear about your rodeo book again.
So the rodeo book that we keep talking about on here, that Mark Ryerson and I created for the Antilles Lake Stampede, called Between Dust and Sky. between Dustin's thigh, eye injury. No. Sorry. We sold our last copy from our inventory, so we are officially out of stock.
Congratulations.
Hopefully not out of print, but certainly out of stock. So, and I have to thank this show to a certain extent, or to a large extent, actually, for helping move. Yeah, I think that this last few half dozen went out here in not too long a period of time. So I thank you very much, and Mark and I thank you a lot for your
thank you,
interest.
everybody.
And
that's great.
Yeah, it's great. So we scaled the project pretty well. I mean, it took 6 years to sell out the original first edition, first printing. So whether or not we'll do another large printing, I don't really see that happening, but we'll see what we can do with the publisher, with the printer, and if we can get some kind of reasonable deal, maybe I'll just order a few on hand, but there's nothing written yet. I have no idea where things are going to go. In small quantities, it's very expensive to produce. So, and even I wouldn't buy them, a copy for myself. So I hoarded my little water damaged one here that I have in my desk here when I'm, waiting for some computer job to finish. I'll thumb through it or whatever.
Well, you gave me a copy. I appreciate that. So now I have one of the first editions.
You have one of the first editions. Yes, we called it.
Although I forgot to get you to sign it, but then it wouldn't have just been you, and you need you and Mark.
Well, it is. They are signed. I think they're.
That one is signed.
I think it has both our signatures in it. It should.
Oh,
just our signatures. Not
I'll
dedication.
Look, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah.
I think you were kind of fishing for a dedication too, but I was
yeah. Sometimes when you get
I'm not really good at that. Like, hope you like the book, Antonio. Oh, that's not how you spell Antonio. I'll scratch it out. So, I'm terrible with that.
I'll have to check.
I think we signed most of these last. I know the last one that went out was signed. The last half dozen went out were signed. So
well, good. That's such a great, successful, even run of something that you guys did pretty much for the first time, right?
Yeah.
You haven't done it.
I haven't done anything since. And Mark did a book about, Excuse Me, May I, which was a book of his street work.
Mm-hmm.
He did that before we did this. So, yeah, that's all very cool. And it's worth doing, because you're kind of living a dream to see your book up on on the camera store bookshelf alongside, other, who was the photographer that I was beside that I noticed? Parr, the Englishman.
Martin
Parr, thank you.
Yeah.
His book was beside mine on the bookshelf. I said, hey, I'll take that. Mark and I will take that for sure. He's color. We're black and white. It's all good.
It's all good. Yeah. So that's good news. Fantastic. Yeah.
So that was one thing. And the other thing I wanted to talk about while we're looking around for subjects is one of the reasons why we're recording early is because I'm going to be working in the evenings after work and into the night at our local fair, which is the Calgary Stampede, which happens to have a rodeo in it too, though I won't be attending the rodeo. They have a big midway. It's like a state fair, like a big state fair, and hundreds of thousands of people on the grounds, and I would just like to walk up and down and do my street work. I've been doing that since 2014.
Oh, really?
So this will be, what will this be? This will be the 10th actual or 9th actual year of doing that. So it's our longest running street project. I have no designs on creating any midway specific book or folio or anything like that. It's just it's the most concentrated work that I do year to year to year that I really enjoy, and keeping working on keeping your eye up and doing a lot of walking and watching your energy and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how I prepare for it now that I've done it for so many years in a row, and maybe people might be interested in hearing.
Well, I'm interested.
How you prepare for, and how I prepared for the New York trip. It was very similar. My experience working at the Calgary Stampede stood me in good stead for when I was walking around New York. You mean you didn't hear me complain very much about I brought too much equipment or I brought too little or anything. I really settled in.
No, not at
Right.
all.
I was just like, and the whole point of the preparation is so that all you're doing there is doing the actual work, concentrating on what you're looking at and shooting, making sure your camera is in the right mode and all that kind of stuff. And so that you don't have anything else on your mind. And part of that is you have to dedicate yourself to being able to concentrate for that long period of time and do what you want to do to produce the best work you can in the short time that you have there. And,
I imagine like a full day is going to tire you out too, because
so I start about 5:30 or 6 in the evening, work till midnight or whatever. When I run out of gas, sometimes I want to wait till after sunset. ISO goes up on the camera. Then you're looking for places and people that are lit in interesting ways from the side, from the top, floodlights on the outside of the concessions and the games, right? The carnies, their craziness. People watching the fireworks. There's fireworks there every night, and you can see much of it from the Midway.
What is the Midway? What does that mean?
Oh, Midway is the fairground. So where all the carnies are.
I'm a city boy, so I don't know.
Okay. Oh no, I thought that was a term that
it might be, but I don't know it.
So we'd call Coney Island a Midway. Would be where all the amusements and the rides and where the people walk up and down on the boardwalk. In our parlance, it's basically a parking lot for the hockey rink for the Calgary Flames.
Gotcha.
So it's a giant parking lot, and during the Stampede fair, it's the fairground. So you walk up and down, and it's quarter of a mile, maybe a bit longer, 3/8 of a mile from one end to the other, and it's quite wide. And there's a little kiddie section, and there's places. There's a couple of stages. There's one closed-in stage called Nashville North, where they have pretty bona fide artists playing in there, and it's free. You just have to stand in line to see them, and buy your booze, and you can watch your your favorite country stars there. And there's also a stage sort of in the open. You can sort of walk by it, and they have rappers and other country acts and rock acts that come, and you can just stand and take that in, and you don't have to pay anything. It comes with your admission. So there's people who dress up like cowboys, and I don't, because my cousins are actually cowboys, and I don't want to wear a uniform that I'm not entitled to wear. So I'm not a cowboy person. So I honor them by not sullying their lifestyle by making me walk in heels and wearing a cowboy hat that I can't afford. So I'll just be the photo nerd. Good. Anyway, so I do this. It's great. There's a lot of instant gratification shooting there. I don't mind telling you that I chimp and all that kind of stuff. And I have a whole process around it. Sometimes I call in the camera if I think I'm running out of space. There's all these different things. But the point of what I'm trying to say here is the preparation. So, everything's charged. I have my extra batteries. I bring a little power station, a little 30,000 multi-amp hour or milliamp hour power station, so I can charge cameras if I need to, or charge my phone even. I go to a smaller bag. I have the big bag that I was carrying around in New York, which was fine because I was fine with the number of lenses that I wanted to take, because I wasn't absolutely sure. So I think I took 5. I only ended up using 2 or 3 in New York, but here I will only use 3 lenses: the 16, the 23, and the 50. There's no need to.
And 2 cameras, right?
And 2 cameras, yeah. So one will have the 23, the other one will have the 50. And then the one that has a 50, I'll trade up and use a 16, which rarely use a 16. But it's there if I need it. So I have all that ready to go. I make some mental notes in my head about where the sun's going to be, if I'm going to be, when I'm doing these, I call it running the gauntlet, which is the most congested part of it's kind of an east-west run. I start from the west and it's around sunset, and I will go, everyone's kind of facing into the sun, and there'll be people, it could be glare, it could be a beautiful sunset, you don't know. But there's people kind of squinting and looking, and they're lit from the front, and I'm walking toward them. And so I will go back and forth, and I'll do that 5 or 6 times over the sunset out, whatever you want to call it, the golden hour, or
so you're very methodical about this.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because it's a big concentration of people. It's the closest I have to walking in Manhattan Street. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I have to go back and forth. I have to go back and forth. It's like, okay, made it to the kiddie place. I have to go around, try it again. And so you have people that are, and it's funny because it's where you can go to one of the stages where it used to be, so people were on a mission to get there. It's also on the way to the exit, so you have people that are a little bit tired that just want to get out of there, or families with kids who just want to get out of there. So they'll go storming along this part of the grounds as well, and then just catch people kind of in repose or resting or recuperating from rides, or all the things that people do on a fairground. And sometimes we were talking in the last podcast about hunters and fishermen, right? You're going out and poking around, or you're waiting. I do both. So running the gauntlet, as I call it, is the hunting part, and then the fishing part, where I'm standing in a pool and watching the people come by, watching the trout feed. That's close to the rides where people are coming off, and groups of young people are meeting and commiserating and walking around with giant stuffed animals and that sort of thing. So there's plenty of opportunity to capture them in there, and they're pretty oblivious to a camera, especially as it gets darker. Some of my favorite images of the last few years I've shot them at night, where even if I was standing beside them, they wouldn't notice that I had a camera. They were lit and I was not. So you're
going at what time starting this? Sunset?
I started about 5:30. Well, I started 5:30 in the afternoon. Sunset really isn't until 10.
Oh, right. Sorry.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you've got a long time with actual sunlight.
With sunlight, yeah. And it's now, what I understand from the weather forecast is it's going to be mostly cloudy through the weekend. That's fine. If it's not too hot, you'll have a lot of people there, as long as it's not raining or storming or whatever. They'll be fine. But yeah, so that's basically what goes on. So there's a method actually working, and the prep right now, because I've got some logistics and around work. So I'm on call this weekend, which means I have to be half an hour, 45 minutes away from a computer. So the Stampede grounds are not too far from downtown. It's just a 3-stop train ride back to close to my office. So if I get a call, I can get on the train right away, and I can be in my office in less than half an hour and deal with some issues, then go back, whatever. So everything's I'm got my badge, my my Prox card to get back into my office and so on. My wife's going to be with me for much of the week because she's usually off at always dismissive. She's off at this drunken, I call it a drunken barn dance. She likes to go to country music festivals, the one that she usually goes to.
Hey, now
she stopped going to it. She's going to a different one now in August. Yeah. So and she hasn't been around during Stampede on Stampede week for years. So this will be her first Stampede in a long time.
And how many days you're going to go all together?
I'm going to try to go every night. So there is what they call sneak a peek tonight, which is the ride operations are going, but there's no concession or anything. So kids go in there, and teenagers can go in there and ride rides tonight. And then tomorrow morning is the parade, is a Stampede parade. So we have like a parade marshal. And I've forgotten who the parade marshal is this year. They usually invite somebody it can be a member of the royal family. It can be it's usually somebody in entertainment. Like they're trying to get, because they'd shot The Last of Us here a couple of years ago, they're trying to get Pedro Pascal, and I'm sure he'll love to come back. I understand he really liked it here, but I forget who the Grand Marshal of the parade is. But they invite somebody to be the Grand Marshal. And then, so that's the morning. So basically the productivity downtown for this big parade, all the companies that are downtown, there's pretty much nothing going on work-wise, productivity-wise in the morning. I've heard on several occasions that the Calgary Stampede is like Mardi Gras for cowboys. Maybe that's a good way to think of it.
So answer my question. You forgot how many days you're going altogether.
Okay, so Friday tomorrow, and I will try to go every night until next Sunday. So 9
it's a
days.
whole week. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're gonna shoot a ton of pictures.
Yeah. So yeah, but I get more discriminating. I think New York taught me a lot in terms of economy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be interesting. And I look back at my old Stampede pictures and I compare them to my New York pictures, and I go, okay, so I can pile on a little bit of the experience I had in New York about lying in wait a little more than just shooting what I think are interesting people. They're not in interesting juxtapositions. New York taught me a lot about just wait, something will come. And if it doesn't, then you can move on. It's not like you're trying to cover everything. And I keep forgetting that I'm there for 8 or 9 nights in a row.
Yeah, you'll be able to get.
So I'll be able to get what I want, afternoons and evenings. So,
yeah. And you're like you said, you're being more discerning about shooting. So you're not necessarily, you're not going to come out with thousands of pictures. You're going to just be targeted.
It'll be a few hundred. It'll be a reasonable amount. Yeah. Something that won't be overwhelming to edit later the next week, for instance. I will be because I still go to work. I still get off the train at 6:30 in the morning, and then I'm going to be, done at, midnight or 11 at night. So it's kind of a long week, but I nap a little bit on the train and then I go straight to bed.
So by the time we publish a show, you'll still be going.
That's right.
You'll be probably near towards the end of it, but all right.
So
we'll have to then check in, I think, on the next episode. I'd like to hear how it went.
How things went. Okay, so another thing too was two new things are happening this year. The experience of the New York trip and the journal. So if I can, I don't think I'll carry the journal with me because the bag I'm taking won't really allow me to fit it in. But I will try to make a point of just scraping down some notes from the day of what I've learned and that sort of thing. The feeling of what's going on.
Yeah, I'm actually be really curious about that. I'd like you to share that. I mean, I might poke you before the next show to ask you about your journal because I'm also journaling, but I'm really your process in this is really interesting to me. So whatever you end up doing.
Well, how so? I'm interested.
Well, because I feel like I'm making more of a journal. I don't do this that often, and I don't write that much. I don't think of my photographs in the way that you do, which is, I think, why I think we work so well together on the show. So we're both coming at photography from different places. And I sort of have this selfishness that I want to learn from you. Like, I want to learn how you think about your own pictures because you're very introspective and reflecting on your own work. And that's something I want to do more of and better of. And so
that's right, because I was showing you pictures after the show last week. You're very interested in these misses that I had, right? Pictures that were close, like that I shot at handhills, that were sort of representative of the direction I want to go. Like that. So is that what you're talking about? So there were pictures that I had that were sort of like,
not necessarily specifics. Not specifics. I mean, this whole idea again. Once we started talking about journaling and stuff like that, and I feel that mine. Fine, I'm not criticizing me. I'm just doing what I think I'm doing. But overall, always with your pictures and the way you think about your own photography has always interested me in general.
Oh, okay.
And now you're adding this journal part of it to sort of write down your thoughts and ideas and whatever you're saying about that. And like that, I'm really curious about. Like, I want to sort of get into your mind a little bit.
Okay. I would too, because I'm not sure, like, I'm not trepidatious, but I'm not sure the value of it yet.
Right, but don't figure that out yet. Like, that's like,
no, I know, but it's sort of like,
it's like if you think about your pictures that way, you wouldn't be taking any pictures, right? Like, what are the value of my pictures? Well, I'm not going to take pictures because it's not valuable. I've done that, and you don't want to do that. Think of your journal in the same way. Just don't I want you to write in your journal because like I said, I want to glean some stuff from you. I know whatever you're willing to share. I don't need to.
Oh no, I can share all of it. It's.
But do you
it's
get what I'm
interesting
saying?
to
Like,
me. It might be interesting to somebody else. So
yeah, it's just
I'm just sort of I'm just doing it, and my process is the way I think about it, and it doesn't really occur to me that it might be. I would want it to be interesting to somebody else, but I don't know that it's.
Well,
it's not
I think it's
supposed to be.
No, it's not supposed to be, but I think it's a part of you and how you're thinking about your work altogether. It's one of the aspects of your reflection on your own photography, and that is something that I still think, for me, I need work on, or I want to work on more. And I think I can learn a lot from you, including what you write in your journal, or whatever you talk about, your own pictures, or whatever. There's stuff that that I want to get from you, and that's like sort of a selfish thing, but that's fine. It's
okay.
And so like I'm really excited. You're gonna write in your journal. You're gonna do something in your journal. You're scratching it. It's like, okay, well, I'm really curious about that.
Okay.
We both of us come at photography from different places, and I think that's why we work together on the show so well. We complement each other well, and we cover different
you kind
bases.
of lived a photographic life that I had sort of fantasized about as a kid, right? Being in New York, going to see these these exhibits and so on, and me looking at pictures of New York and where things happened and the history and all that kind of stuff. It's fascinating, and that you're walking in those circles. At the tail end of the Madison Avenue and the photo district and all that kind of stuff, and then half a generation removed from all that really cool mid-century stuff that we're both drool over.
Yeah.
So for me, you're kind of living that history. So I lived that history. So for me, you offer that up in that an accent and everything.
Yeah.
so it's all good.
All right. Any last preps that you want to go into, or
no? No, I was just gonna say, because we kind of got off the topic about prep, but do what you need to do so that you can concentrate completely on shooting and doing nothing else. If you really want your pictures to be good, and if they suck, that's fine. They suck less, actually, because you did put the effort in. Think of it that way. Try to look through I like to chimp because I want to see what kind of mistakes I made. Whether or not you upload them to the computer, just take a quick look through. Sometimes I just riffle through them, and why. And it's kind of funny. It's like a little bit of an animation that goes through in the back of the camera.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And just kind of get a feeling for, am I going the right direction or not? And make your adjustments if there are any to make. If you don't know what you're doing, pick something. I'm going to take pictures of groups of people of 2 or more. I'm going to take pictures of singles, of individual pictures. I'm going to take pictures of people on the rides. Devote an hour or 2 hours or a day, at your state fair or whatever it is, to do that, to concentrate on a subject. Learn something from it. I like it. I don't like it. I like this aspect of it. Look for something that you want to do. Don't be obsessed with the stuff that doesn't work and that you don't like. Give yourself a reason to keep doing it and stay motivated. If you get tired, sit down, have your lemonade, whatever, and then wait until you get motivated again. There's nothing saying that you have to be hoofing it the whole time. Relax, you be careful of your energy, particularly if you're on a long haul like I am, and with this, day after day after day. And I always get interesting pictures out of it. I'll probably get, a dozen or so pictures out of that are worth posting to social media over the week. And I think that's a good hit rate for street work. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I would add for you, Ward, is like, I know you're saying you're not thinking about doing something with this, but why wouldn't you want to print a zine or a book just for yourself? You know, I mean, just so that it's something that you have as a, especially you've been doing this for so long. Like you like to even thumb. You were saying you were liking to thumb through your book with the rodeo book. You know, you have it well worn, and so why wouldn't you just drop a few dozen pictures into a blurb book or something like that to have so you can thumb through? Doesn't have to be shown to everybody.
No.
Right? So I keep that in mind. I'm ever since
maybe that'll. You know what? That's a good idea for when we do another printing. So
what to
take pictures of? If you can't have the rodeo book, have the pictures of people who are at the rodeo. Stampede heads.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's basically all I had. That's all I had to say.
Well, that's a lot, and good luck with this.
Thank you.
I am looking forward to seeing the pictures. We'll have to report in at the end of July. Please, and share. I don't know if I'll be able to see. You'll have to share some of the pictures in our unusual collective group. So, because I'm not on Instagram, I still haven't gotten back on yet. So, which means I can't join the other thing that they just started. But I don't want to get into that.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't even mention it.
Yeah, don't mention it. All righty. So, where are we going to be able to find you in this world?
I don't have my thing in front of me.
So why don't you get it, and then I'll pause, and we'll start that over again.
Is it in the no?
Well, just go to last time's notes. Do you have access to that?
I do, but I don't remember where it is here.
I could send you a link.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Sorry.
Hang on. Where do you want it? In.
You can put it in the chat in Zoom actually, or in Street Shots maybe in the.
Here, I'm doing it in Zoom.
Chat for. Chat. Give me the chat. Got it. There's the link. I know what I was thinking here. So where you can find me?
Let me start that again. So I have something to work into. So after all that, where we can be able to find you in this wonderful world?
You can find me on Vero and Twitter at WRosinPhoto. Find me on Instagram at Ward Rosin Fine Art. I'm Facebook. On Facebook, you can find me at Ward Rosin Photography or just Ward Rosin Photo. I have the website where I guess I'm just selling fine prints now because the book is sold out. That's at rosin.ca. And our unofficial sponsor is Ornis Photo. That's ORNIS.photo. And where I sell adapters for Sony and Fuji X cameras, as well as 7 Artisan lenses for those same mounts.
Lots of lenses.
Many
lenses, yeah. And you can find me on Vero, Twitter, and Flickr at AM Rosario. My website is amrosario.com. Facebook, yes, we are on Facebook. Rosario Photo on Facebook. Our Street Shots website is streetshots.photography, and we do have a Facebook page, Street Shots Podcast. And if you please leave us a voicemail, this is where you could leave us a voicemail if you want to, photographers you would like us to talk about or books that you'd like us to read or discuss. Go to speakpipe.com/street shots. So speakpipe.com. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Speakpipe.com/street shots. And if you want to support the show in any way, I think I'm going to set up a Patreon account at some point, which is what everybody does. But for now, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Antonio Rosario. We don't have an account there under our name. It just is under my name. But I'm the producer of the show, so I get to think.
All blessings are yours.
Yes, but anyway. So, we ended up chatting. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And, reach out to us. I'd like to hear from you guys. And what else? We'll see you. We'll see everybody at the end of July. Hope it wasn't too sticky and nasty out for those people in the northern hemisphere going through summer now. So try to stay cool. All right, you too, Gord. Have a good night.
You too.
There's a bioplant that you can take a tour of on Valentine's Day. I mean, they open it up on Valentine's Day so that you can bring your special someone to go see how biofuel is made, and so you're standing there watching biodegradable, disgusting mess turn into biofuel, and then you can propose to your special one there.
It's a hippie thing, I guess. I don't know.
I have no idea. They have these things, they call them the eggs. Maybe that's why. They get these giant things that they store something in, whether it's the fuel or the mess, and they're called the eggs.
Okay, they're what do they call them? Not gestator. There's a name for them.
Yeah, something like that. I know
what you're talking about.
Yeah. They're shaped like giant eggs. So maybe next time you come to town, we could take a tour of the.
Sure, just not on Valentine's Day. That's
and I won't.
I like you, but you're not my type.